Good morning or good afternoon, Tigers. Today we'll be watching a video on Quizzette 809. As always, please make sure you write your last name, comma, first name. You write today's date, and today I'll be the Blue Tigers. Number 1 states, complete the function table to satisfy this equation, 5x plus 3 equals y. So they give you an input amount of values. So they give you -3, -1, 0, and 1. If you're looking at my screen, there is a typo. This should register as a negative. Those two negatives should just be one negative. So go ahead and write that with your pen or your pencil. So the first x value is -3. The second x value is -1. The next one is 0. And the last one is 1. What you do is you plug in whatever value they give you for the letter they're giving you into the equation, and that'll give you what y equals. So your input is -3 and your output is going to be your y. So instead of writing 5x, I'm going to write 5 times -3, my first input value, plus 3 equals, and what I get is going to be my y because that's what it's equal to. So if you pay attention, your y is what you're going to get as the result. All right. 5 times -3 is -15. -15 plus 3. Those are different signs, so you have to subtract them, and that's 12. Keep the sign of the bigger number, negative. Then you are exact. So the output value is -12. So every time x is -3, y is going to be -12. So if I was graphing this on a coordinate plane, my point would be -3, -12. Now our next input value is -1. So I'm going to draw a line just to separate it. Okay, that's my first one. My second one is -1. So 5 times -1 plus 3 equals, and that'll be my y, my output. 5 times -1 is -5. -5 plus 3, they have different signs, so you have to subtract them. Your result is 2. Keep the sign of the bigger number, which is negative. So when x is -1, y is -2. So if I was making this a point, it would be -1, -2. My next point, this is probably going to be the easiest point. The easiest point to always plug in is 0. So my next point is 5 times 0, because that's my third value right there, plus 3. 5 times 0 is 0. 0 plus 3 is just going to be 3. So 3. So my point there is 0, 3. Now my last value that I'm going to plug in is going to be 1. So I have 5 times 1 plus 3 equals, 5 times 1 is 5, 5 plus 3 is 8. And that's my last value. And my point would be 1, 8. That's it. So when I'm grading this, I'm going to be looking to see that you have your points written as in -3, -12 in parentheses. I'm also going to be looking to see if you wrote the right output values for y. So -12, -2, 3, and 8. Moving on to number 2. Number 2 says, find the x and y intercept or ordered pairs. So here you have to find 2 points. You have to find the x intercept and the y intercept. So x intercept and your y intercept. Now there are 2 points in this graph where you have x to be a value and your y is a 0. What do I mean by that? If you look at this point right here, x is 1 and the y value is 0. If you look here, your y value is -3 and your x value is 0. Let me point to what I'm talking about. So when there's a point, this right here is 0 for x. So here's -1, here's -2, here's -3. So -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You guys are used to drawing a number line like this. Okay? So here, my x value on this point right here, all the way up and all the way down, this point for x is going to be 0. So if I have to write this point right here where it crosses the y-intercept, where this line crosses the y-intercept, my x is 0 and my y is -3. So my x is 0 and my y is -3. But if I look up on the graph. This is where my y is 0. Let's count. So we have -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So at this point, my y value is going to be 0. My x value is 1. So when I write that, I write it like this. Since my x is 1 and my y is 0, that's how I write my point. Now when you're writing a point, it's always x, comma, y. Your x value goes first, your y value goes second. Now this is where some of you might get confused. This is considered to be your x-intercept. It's considered to be your x-intercept because y is 0. So for my x-intercept is y, comma, 0. Now this number over here, this coordinate, this point, is my y-intercept because it's where x is 0. So it would be 0, comma, -3. If you had trouble understanding this, I would re-watch it and then rewrite it. Number 3, find the x and y intercepts of 4x plus y equals 5. So I'm going to ask you to split up this box into 2 sections. Your first section, you're going to say x is equal to 0. And your next section, you're going to say y is equal to 0. Now, I had trouble with this when I was in school because I just felt like I could pick any number and plug it in. It doesn't make sense. That's not how math works. Usually they give you the scenario. But for this instance, you're trying to find what y equals when x is 0. And you're going to try to see what x is equal to when y is 0. This is what I mean. You're going to rewrite your equation, 4x plus y equals 5. And you're going to plug in 0 for x. That way you can see what y is equal to. So it's like you're inputting 0 to see what your output is. 4 times 0 is what? 0. 0 plus y is equal to 5. Well, 0 plus anything is just whatever that is. So you could just write y equals 5. So my x-intercept, my y-intercept, remember, my y-intercept is when x is equal to 0, is 0, comma, 5. Now I'm trying to find my x-intercept, and the way I find my x-intercept is I make my y 0. It's the opposite. So here I would write 4x plus y equals 5, and I'm going to plug in 0 for my y value. 4x plus 0 equals 5. 4x plus 0 is just 4x equals 5. I want to isolate the variable, get x by itself, so I'm going to divide both sides by 4. 4 goes into 4 one time, so I'm left with x is equal to 5 over 4. You could easily write that as 1/4 or 1.25. I'll accept 5 over 4, but remember that you have to know this as well. So my x-intercept is 5 over 4, comma, 0. Number 4, graph x equals 5. What kind of slope does this line have? So if you watch the notes video when I had a sub, we talked about the different types of slope. So I'm just going to give you the recap. So go ahead and split your page up, and I'm going to give you the notes on the bottom half. So remember, when your line goes like this, it's something positive. That's a positive slope. When you have a line going down from left to right, that's a negative slope. When you have a line that's horizontal, it is a 0 slope. When you have a line that's vertical, sorry, that line is not straight. When you have a line that's vertical, that is an undefined slope. So that's undefined slope. Now, keeping those notes in mind, or keeping that visual in mind, let's graph x is equal to 5. So I have a coordinate plane. I'm going to draw my y-axis, and I will draw my x-axis. And again, if your lines aren't perfectly straight, that's fine. I know what you mean. But try to make it as accurate as possible. Now, x is equal to 5 is going to be plotted. Sorry for that pause. All right, so on my x is equal to 5, I have to graph it like this. This right here is my 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if I'm plotting x is equal to 5, this is not a point. It is not a point. It is a line. If it was a point, they would give you 0, 5. All right, a point is given to you as x, y. A line is given to you with the equal sign. Here they want x is equal to 5. So what I do is I go to x is equal to 5, and then I draw the intersecting line. So x is going from left to right. Now when I graph it, I have to draw the line horizontal to it. So it's like perpendicular. So if you guys remember geometry, it's like a perpendicular line is a line that makes two 90-degree angles. So this is a perpendicular line to it. That would be x is equal to 5. Now let's look at our different types of slope. What kind of slope does it have? Is it a positive? Is it negative? Is it 0? Or is it undefined? According to our diagrams and our drawings, this is an undefined slope. Now if we look at number 4, that's not going to be an undefined slope. That's going to be a different type of slope because our graph is going to be different. Now let's look at 4 real quick. I'm running out of time and I don't want YouTube to kick off my video, so I'm going to finish this in 30 seconds. So you're going to draw your x and your y coordinates. You can write it neater. I'm going to graph y equals 3, 1, 2, 3. And then I'm going to do a perpendicular line. That is y is equal to 3. Always write the equation on top of the line. And that type of slope is written on top. I'm going to let you say what kind of slope it is, but it is not an undefined slope. It is a different type of slope. Thank you, Tigers. If you have any questions, please raise your hand or comment on this video. Thank you. Have a nice day.